The Film Crickets are intended for mature audiences. Any guests on the Film Crickets do not necessarily share the same opinions as the Film Crickets. It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, Elizabeth from the YouTube channel Movies with Mom joins the Film Crickets, and Jay, Chris, Melanie, and Elizabeth review the 1985 American sports drama film Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago, the director's cut.
Well, I've been with the best, and I beat the best. I've retired more men than Social Security.
Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out your Film Crickets.
All right. Hey, friends, and welcome to the Film Crickets. It's a podcast where we talk about movies from 1980 to 1999 and decide beyond a shadow of a doubt whether or not these movies stand the test of time. I'm your co-host, Jay Fortier. I'm along with my good friend and co-host, Chris Martineau.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing. What's happening?
And doing all right. And we are also joined by our good friend and co-host, Melanie Howerton.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. And, well, once again, she is back, so we're excited because we had her on for the movie Titanic, and we had so much fun, and we're honored to have her back again. It's Elizabeth from Movies with Mom, the YouTube channel, so welcome.
Thanks. Hello.
Yeah.
Hey.
You know,
how's it going
it was my idea.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, it's all right.
Go.
I was going to say it was my...
Go, Jay. Go.
Here we go. Go. Ready?
Go.
No, you go. Like George Carlin.
Yeah, right. It's good to have you back in here, Elizabeth. And so again, this is a movie you have not seen before. This is that the general idea?
No, I've seen it. I reacted to this for the channel.
Okay.
Maybe in the fall sometime, but not the director's cut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was whatever the theatrical release was.
All
right. And that's exactly where I was going to go. Was I knew she reacted. She had mentioned on the last episode that she was on with us that she really enjoyed the Rocky movies. You know, like having seen them for her show. And I wanted to go with something she liked, but I said I've been really wanting to see this director's cut that I had heard about that he released in 2021, and I kept hearing about like that he was working really hard on it, and I was hoping like I didn't want her just to talk about something that if there was an opportunity to make it a little different for her to react to or to be on our show about, then I figured that would be like the perfect reason for her to check this one out. Instead, it's not like, well, here's a movie you just saw 6 months ago and watch it again and talk with us about it. So, and I'll be like, I think I'm probably the most, probably one of the biggest fans of here, like people, in this room or, on this show. So I'm going to wait to hear what everybody else's thoughts are, like on this retooling of this, because I it was pretty interesting. So
okay,
I'll hear what everybody else thinks first.
All right, that's super. So can I get, rather than go around and ask what our history is with this movie, because it seems like we're either saw the old one or we're looking at this retooling. What's our history with Rocky in and of itself? So where are we with the Rocky movies and even the Creed movies? So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, where is your heart in this series? So let's start. Elizabeth, why not you? So where are you in the history of Rocky and all of its incarnations?
I just reacted to Rocky Balboa. It hasn't aired on the channel yet, but yeah, I'm all caught up with the Rocky movies. Haven't seen any of the Creed movies. I love them so far. I really like the. Sylvester Stallone really puts forth the family man aspect, which is fun. And I heard somebody, I don't know, maybe it was one of my coaches or somebody was saying that Rocky is more of a love story than it is a sports film. And I thought that was interesting because you see it play out with his relationship with Adrian. And yeah, I've loved them, and I'm excited to try out Creed, which those are newer, right? Like in the last 10, 15 years?
Yes. In fact, the third one just came out very recently, where it's so new you can only rent it, I think.
Melanie, what do you think? What's your deal? What's your history? How do you feel about Rocky in general?
I love Rocky movies. I'm just nowhere near caught up at all. I love Sylvester, and I literally just found out last night that he created all of this thing and wrote and produced, and I couldn't believe that. I had no idea. So I haven't seen any of the Creeds. I want to, just have not seen them yet. And I think I'm like up to like Rocky 5.
Okay.
I know I've seen 5. I just can't remember what 6 was. And I think there's 8 of them, isn't there?
Rocky Balboa is 6, if I'm not mistaken, right, Elizabeth?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How many is there besides the Creed?
That's
6.
Besides
6.
Creed, it's called Rocky Balboa, though. There's no number 6.
Oh, all right. Then my husband was wrong. He was like, I think there's 8 of them. So I've seen definitely 5 of them, and I can't remember if I saw Rocky Balboa because I know I wanted to. I just don't remember I've seen that yet. But the Creed, I haven't seen any of those.
Cool. All right, Jason.
Yeah, I'll just say Rocky Balboa is better than you would expect. Like from
That's what I heard.
What age he is. You know what I mean? Like people will go, he's like 60-something years old. What the hell? Right? But
He's amazing.
You know, he still looked great, and it was written well, and the age jokes are in there. You know what I mean? Like he's, it's meta in a way. He's looking in and saying, like there's a point where, and I'm not giving anything away. It's just that there's a point where he says, like, I was thinking about, doing some more fighting, and then Paulie goes, "You haven't peaked yet."
Yeah.
Like, and it's a pretty funny line. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. The Duke speech in that, I love that thing. But so my history with Rocky, my parents took me to see this. Well, actually, they took me to see the first one at the drive-in, and I was never famous for making it to the second movie, which was going to be Rocky.
Yeah.
The first one was like this movie, and it was probably falling asleep during the trailers of the first film. So like I was so young, it was my brothers that really got a lot out of it. I was like, but they took me to the theater to see the second one, and I remember it was at the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Sure.
And I remember like at points I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I was standing up like, oh my God, like in the final like
Oh my
match,
God,
like,
you're adorable.
And I gotta tell you, I mean, people were clapping and cheering. And when I saw part 4 in the theater, they also did the same thing. And I got to tell you, I really miss that.
Sure.
People like absolutely like screaming in a theater. Gives you chills. It's like
I saw that recently. I hadn't seen it. An audience react to a film. I saw it mildly with Matrix Resurrections, believe it or not. But
Really?
I actually had cheering at the end of John Wick 4. Like people up and cheering at the ending of John Wick 4. And it was mesmerizing because nobody seems to like, they just go to the movie like, that was cool. But like cheering and clapping. Like, now granted, at the Alamo Draft House, you can put a few back while you're waiting. But, there's that. So, cool. See, that's what I mean. And it's supposed to stir stuff. I mean, I think the point of Rocky in any of its incarnations is that it's supposed to stir you somewhere, regardless of what the underdog is. There's always an underdog for some bizarre reason. Also, the thing about Rocky and my I went to music school, and my opera teacher went to Arizona State, and she went to school with Sylvester Stallone, which is kind of neat, right? And she said he gets a bum rap because he talks like that because of a birth thing or an accident or something to that effect. He's actually really smart. Like
the umbilical cord got wrapped around his neck when he was
right. So he has that speech impediment that makes him sound like he's not a bright man. But she said he's as smart as a whip. And I'm sorry, I don't care what movie you make. If you write and direct a film, you've got something upstairs. Unless you're Stephen King during Maximum Overdrive, who was railed on coke the entire time, you kind of know what's going on. He was, admittedly. You kind of have to know what's going on when you're writing and directing and starring in a movie, even if it's freaking Birdemic. Like, you still have to have your act together, even if you're going to try to put out even a piece of crap, and these movies aren't a piece of crap. So
I think that he's incredibly smart, even with the speech thing. I never thought he was stupid at all. And I've seen him in so many movies, so it's not just Rocky, but he's incredibly smart. And we watch his new series called Tulsa now, which is really good. So I think he's incredibly smart. And I know him and Arnold are always like, they were competitive before, but like, I don't think there's any competition whatsoever between Arnold and Sylvester. I think Sylvester is a far better actor, and you know how much I love Arnold, but my God, there's no comparison.
Yeah,
that's right. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's right.
And Arnold can act too, but not as good as Sylvester. He's just done way too much, and he's written. So I just can't believe all the stuff he's done.
Oh yeah, he's done quite a bit. All right, so my history is this: I saw Rocky IV until I wore the tape out, and then I swear to God, like, it was just, and that's something I want to talk about. It's that '80s America, Reagan era America zeitgeist that is staring you, just hitting you over the head over and over again in this movie, for bad or good. And then, so I loved it. And again, we're talking 6th grade and height of the Cold War and all that stuff. And so I watched this movie over and over again. There's 2 montages in this movie. I mean, what's better than that as a kid? 2 montages. That's, it takes up a lot of time. You don't have to pay attention much. And then I watched Rocky 1 and was disappointed. And I couldn't take it, like, as a kid, because it's boring compared to Rocky 4. It really.
So you started with the more exciting one and went down low.
Absolutely.
Right?
So
that's hard.
I'm obviously not saying Rocky 1 and 2 aren't masterpieces. I just never got back to watching them because I wanted. Well, where's James Brown? Where's all the spectacle? Where's the robot? Where's the robot? There's a robot in the movie, right? So
Wait,
like,
did you watch the special edition?
I did not watch the special edition.
Oh, they took the robot out.
They took the robot out.
Robot.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's unnecessary. It's
I
creepy.
literally didn't remember until Jay reminded me of it.
It's
and
creepy.
Because I'm like, I'm not going to know the difference.
It's creepy. It talks this thing. So anyhow,
he hated it. Apparently, he hated the robot.
Well, there's a lot to hate. It's creepy. It's great.
Yeah.
So
But did you?
Go ahead. So past that, I mean, I didn't really watch 5 because I liked 3. 3 was good because of Mr. T, and whatnot. And then I heard 5 wasn't great, and I heard Rocky Balboa was very good, and I just then got out of the loop. And I don't really care about boxing that much. Which I care about boxing as much as I care about arm wrestling, which is why I never really finished Over the Top. So like, who cares about, like, I just didn't care about boxing. I'd rather watch a baseball movie. So, but it's obviously very good. So that's my history with this. So, hey, look, we spent enough time having technical issues and whatnot. Let's talk about Rocky. What do you think, guys? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So IMDb, Rocky 4, coming out in 1985. Rated PG, coming in at a sprightly 1 hour and 31 minutes. Rocky Balboa proudly holds the World Heavyweight Boxing Championship, but a new challenger has stepped forward, Drago, a 6'4", 261-pound fighter who has the backing of the Soviet Union. Directed, written, and stars Sylvester Stallone, along with Talia Shire, Burt Young, Carl Weathers, Bridget Nielsen, Tony Burton, and Dolph Lundgren, who, again, in terms of typecasting, has a master's degree in chemical engineering. So, he does. While he was earning it, he ended up being a bouncer somewhere, and somebody saw him and said, "You should be a star," and he was. But yeah, he has a degree in chemical engineering. So, all right, so let's get at it. So this movie. So what's our first impression like when you watch the film? Like what's the first thing that you think about? Like, particularly, I saw it then and now, and I know what I think, but like what are your first impressions of Rocky IV in the modern age? There is no more Cold War. There's a Russian threat. There's no Soviet threat. So there, I got to make sure I get the distinction there. So what's the first thing? I don't know. I'll go round table. Who wants to start on that? Like, what's this make you think of?
Let's go with Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. She's pondering. She's in her pondering pose.
I am. Well, my first question back to you is theatrical or director's cut? Because when I was watching, I guess rewatching it, but the recent release, I had trouble remembering what's new and what, is in the old version.
Well, the episode today is about the new one. So what say you about that?
Well, so I can't remember exactly how the first one that I watched began, but this version seemed to be a huge montage to open, like more than the past ones. And it was like totally recapping like the whole third film. And so it just kind of took a while to get back into it, and I felt a little bored. I hate to say that because I love the Rocky movies and I don't want to criticize.
Yeah.
But I did feel a little bit bored because it was just like, okay, let's get to what this one is about. And yeah, that's my main thought at this moment.
So wait, are you saying the new one is boring compared to the old one, or just the beginning?
Just the beginning. There's a lot that I like about the new version, but initially it just feels a little slower, and like he holds shots longer in this newer version. Whereas sometimes it's more interesting if you cut to a wide angle or you see the person, like the scene where he's where his kid asks him, are you nervous? And it's just him giving his kid this whole speech, and it's a close-up on Stallone. And you don't really see the kid, and you don't see like any wide shots, and so it's just like, okay, let's see a different angle now. So it's a little bit more like that, which Stallone's probably trying to get people to feel and react to those emotions, which you can't get as much if you're doing a lot of wide shots. But yeah, it just felt a little bit slower.
Okay.
If that makes
sense.
sense.
So he's trying to ramp up. Are we trying to ramp up the emotion? Where he's trying to, since he's the director and directing himself, maybe he figures, well, if I'm not giving that emotional note, then if I just make them look at me longer, then maybe eventually by osmosis they'll get what's going on. I mean, it is a touching scene. I do remember it. I mean, from when I saw it. I mean, it's, I said it's not. It's kind of 80s fare. It's kind of over the top fare. It's like, I'm going to do everything for you, or he's trying to be a loving father, but he's obviously this. I mean, he's jacked. He's a giant dude. You know what I mean? Everybody likes a sensitive man, and you don't particularly see that in Rocky films. And well, not that he's not sensitive, but okay. Jason.
Yeah, I see what she means about, like, the beginning. I actually watched it again because I wanted to show my wife, because I watched it last night by myself, and my daughter came in like halfway, but like I was like, this is so different, so different. Like this, like, I'm not kidding. I read like 40 extra, like not extra minutes, 40 minutes that's different added to this film.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
What's that?
I'll go ahead because I have something to say about that 40 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying there's a ton of stuff. Like, they go from the flashback to like, which is, it's longer. By the way, clean. This is a labor of love. I'm not kidding. This is clean. It looks like it could have been released recently. You know what I mean? Like, he really cleaned it up. It doesn't look grainy. It doesn't look like it came out in 1985.
Okay.
I mean, really, like the vibrant colors. And so they go from that to, I'm pretty sure they go right from there to Apollo in his swimming pool throwing the tennis balls and learning about the Russians in town. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they skip over all the other stuff, like at the beginning, like him seeing this kid who's holding the camera and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different stuff. We can get to more of it later. But I just think, it's I don't know if I'm answering it properly, like what's my impression, but like, I mean, I guess, it was kind of fun to see it because it's so, he didn't mail it in. Let's put it that way.
All right. So he's George Lucasing this. He's going back and saying, I wish I could have done it this way and recutting it to what he wanted it to be.
Well,
is that what you feel?
Like maybe with other footage that he had.
Okay.
So it's not like you're not seeing a computer generated Apollo Creed or right? Or like when he comes around the corner,
or De Niro in The Irishman, looking like walking like an 80-year-old, but looking like a 25-year-old. Okay, sure.
Right.
All right.
So
there's no Jar Jar in this movie, right? There's no Jar Jar.
No, thank the Lord.
Okay, good. That's
Misa. Let's go to Melanie.
What about you, sir? Misa done bun bad. All right, sorry. Okay, but okay, Melanie.
What was the question? What was the question, though?
The question is so again, I'm trying to get at what this movie is about. It stirs something in everybody, right? So, and depending on when you watch it, from the original version in '85 when I was a child, or compared to this new version now, what are the main things that, why do you get stirred up by this movie? Does it make you go rah rah? If it doesn't, why? I mean, it's the Rocky movies about underdogs, right? And everybody likes an underdog story. I mean, shit, I cried the end of Rudy just because it's an underdog. I mean, absolute waterfalls on Rudy. Not this movie, but it still makes you feel something. So what is your impression? What's your overall emotional investment into Rocky? He's asking us to be emotionally invested with basically a knucklehead from Philadelphia. I mean, that's a broad stroke, but I'm just saying, they want us to identify with this person. So I just want to know where you come at with Rocky.
The very first thing, I know this has nothing to do with that, but the very first thing I noticed, because I hadn't seen it in so long, I was like, oh my God, they're so young. Look how young they are.
Yep.
Because like I said, I'm still watching Sylvester's new series, and I was like, oh my God, they're babies. And I just thought they were so young. I mean, I looked up their ages, and I think Sylvester was high 30s, and I think Dolph was 27 or something, but they look like they're 22 and 25 or so. I don't know. They just look like babies. So I noticed that first. I did notice as I was watching it, I kind of remembered some stuff, and my husband had said he'd seen that movie more than any movie he's ever seen in his life. So when we were watching it together, he was like, "This is new. This has not happened. This was not here before. This they cut this out. This is new." So apparently, they gave a lot more feeling to Apollo. There was a lot of scenes added from Apollo. But when and then there was when Jay was talking about the minutes, I guess apparently there was almost an hour worth of extra footage that was not in the movie. So when he did the director's cut, everybody thought, okay, I'm gonna love this director's cut because I'll see this movie and there's gonna be 40 extra minutes added. It's not like that at all. I think the original running time might have been I'm guessing 91 minutes, and this running time is 93 or something. So you're not seeing a ton of extra footage that they're cutting out so much to try to make that in there. One of the things that I do remember is Bridget, and she got up and said this huge speech about her husband, and you just hated her. Yeah. And that whole thing was cut out. There was a lot of stuff that I remember that was cut out, or the little kid watching, Sylvester on TV, that was cut out. So there was a lot of good parts that was cut out. There was some stuff that was added, but again, it was more depth to Apollo. I didn't like that. I guess he just thought it was tacky, but when the Russian guy was talking, a lot of the times in the ring, they had words underneath, so you knew what the hell they were talking about. You knew what Dolph was saying to the manager and what the manager was saying to him. But in the director's cut, that was all cut out. So you're like, what the hell are they saying?
Okay,
so
hold on that.
I didn't know what they were talking about.
Hold on.
And Ronnie remembered their words. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that the one I bought, which is the one you saw, don't tell anybody, had when you're watching the first press conference, you see these I'm talking about with.
But I meant
Apollo.
in the ring, when they were in the ring.
But wait. You see the stuff underneath Apollo, like underneath the Apollo scene, where they're like literally the press conference. You see the stuff. He's not a man. He's a machine. He's a piece of iron, right? All that stuff that is no, it's there accidentally. I don't know if it's just the version I grabbed, like somehow somebody really, really missed it. But it's there at the beginning of the movie. The stuff that's supposed to be when he's saying he's another man. Because like all of a sudden we'll watch things a little later, and it says for me underneath, and that's when he goes ya tibia. You know, he starts screaming.
And my husband's sitting there going, he's saying that he's this and this. He's saying this and this. And I'm like, why aren't they saying what it is? I have no clue what they're talking about.
But I mean,
there
we
was
saw
nothing under there.
So there's somehow those subtitles are elsewhere, like where they don't belong. Like, and I'm not sure if it was just a weird...
What weird pirated version do you guys watch? My God.
I don't know.
I'm wondering... Because in the version I watched, there were subtitles, like in the ring, the final
Yes, that's what
fight.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I had to sit there and guess what we're talking about.
Okay.
And it's a good thing my husband remembered the movie so well. He was like, he's saying this and he's saying that. Because I'm like, well, that's...
So they didn't cut it out. It was like a glitchy thing that I got. So, oh well.
Okay.
In this
one part, at least that one part was not like that. And then... I think in a way they actually wanted to give a little bit more depth to Dolph as well, because when you're looking at Bridget and she's giving, I remember that speech that she gave, which was taken out, and I really liked that speech. I think he took it out because I don't know, maybe they got divorced.
Well, he used to be married to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they cut her part out a little bit, but that speech was good. But I think they wanted to, besides the fact when he said, if he dies, he dies. And you could tell, oh my God, what an asshole he is. But later on, I think when he's in the ring after he had lost, and everybody knows how this ends, but you kind of felt a little bit bad for him. And I think that Sylvester wanted him to give more depth to him, because you can clearly see by the president and the Russians and everything that they were literally just using him for politics. Mm-hmm. And I think that he was trying to give more depth to his character at the end to make it look like he's just used up. They don't care anything about him. They just care about their politics. I think at the end, he was trying to give them more depth about the character, and you kind of felt a little bit bad for him at the end. Okay. And I didn't feel like that with the first one. With the first one, I'm like, good, get him. This one, I'm like, I don't know. You just felt a little bit bad for him at the very end after he lost, and I think it was just the way that Sylvester wanted it to play out. Yeah.
The ending of the one that you're used to seeing, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how the Mikhail Gorbachev guy?
Yes.
Boy, did they make
veiled
the likeness.
Mikhail, yes.
Right.
Mikhail's Navy, yes.
Oh, man. Anyways, at the end of that version, he stands up and starts applauding and then looks down at Dolph's manager and then, stand up and clap. Well, this one, all of them just bolt.
Oh.
Angrily, and then Dolph's manager is still stewing, like staring at the ring, like by himself. They abandon him.
That is interesting. Okay. So full disclosure. Now, Jay. Now, guys, and Elizabeth. You said we were doing this. I didn't know there was a lot different. And Jay, you did say, check out this link so you can watch it. I'm like, well, it's no different than the other. I did not do my homework on that. So wait a minute. I'm not going to lie. Okay.
It's all right.
I just misunderstood the assignment a tad. I'm sorry, teacher. So you're telling me they took out the big Rocky himself can turn the hearts of an entire cold nation.
No,
they left that.
They left that.
No, they were still cheering in the audience.
But okay. Go ahead.
No, the audience was cheering.
Okay.
The premiere and everybody upstairs were like, screw this, we're out of here.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
It's a little more realistic there.
Okay.
There was a point also where he walks over to Dolph, Drago, and gives him like a pump to the boxing gloves, before walking out.
Sportsman-like?
Another thing.
So wait a minute. So we had a sportsman-like ending. After he beat up the Roid monster, he He has a sportsman-like ending. Is that the general idea?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And
Okay.
also the
but
speech. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was just going to say the final shot of the movie is different.
Okay.
Too.
He's not.
The music,
Whereas-
switched up the music.
Yeah, the music too, but the original, it's like a close up of Rocky with the
Yes.
American flag, and in the newer version, it's him walking into the crowd with the flag wrapped around him.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
So it's his back.
So these were all originally shot, but they were cut, and other ones were used. I don't
Yes.
know. See,
And-
I love that 80s ending where things are frozen. That's the best. I mean, that to me is
Right, yeah.
the 80s. I don't want to hear. I don't want some Christ-like cape Batman / Jesus American flag cape as you're going through Mother Russia. Oh, stop it! I want to see Frozen and then credits. That's what I want to see.
Right.
It is still frozen, right?
I think so.
Right,
but
it's
it's just a little.
yeah.
It's extended. So like he's going
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
And then Eye of the Tiger is playing, which it didn't play at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like the two boxing gloves don't rise up and clash like Monday Night Football style.
But I
Right?
like that they played Eye of the Tiger. I think that was a good change up instead of Hearts on Fire. So they did, because I guess the original had Hearts on Fire at that point, but then they brought Hearts on Fire back towards the end of the credits. But so at the very end, they did play Eye of the Tiger again. So
Okay.
it was Eye of the Tiger, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
But Eye of the Tiger played at the beginning of the other version, when the two
Right.
boxing gloves came up like the Monday Night Football helmets.
Which I ate
And-
up as a child.
Sure.
Absolutely love that crap.
I think he was trying to make it grittier, like like
Okay.
old, kind of like Rocky 1-ish, in a way.
I think he was trying
now-
to take out the like cheesy things that he didn't like it said he hated the robot. But I know he said that like it's not exactly like he wanted it to be to begin with, because number one thing he regrets, he said, more than anything in the world is killing Apollo. He wished he never killed them. He wished that he just ended up in a wheelchair. He did not want to kill him.
Well, can
He
we?
still could have gotten revenge if he was in a wheelchair, but he wished that he never killed him off.
I always thought that was an interesting and unnecessary point, because there is no exhibition match where you will let someone. I mean, he died on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care that you're not throwing the towel in. They're going to stop the fight. The referee is going to stop the fight. And it doesn't matter if the fighter says, no, I have to keep fighting. Because America versus USSR, we have to keep fighting these commies, blah, 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 right? That's the subtext, right? I mean, you got Apollo Creed's coming in wearing the American flag shorts. You got James Brown singing a great song. It's basically, here come the silly Soviets in their backward times, and we're going to just destroy all of them. And then once you get down to it, you realize, oh, wait, we're about equals, if not a little less than these people for whatever reason. Oh, wait, they're cheating. Oh, sorry. Right? So they can't be as good as the USA. They must be cheating. And so the fact that Apollo's in there taking one for his country, representing his country in that 80s Cold War stuff, and that he has to be avenged, I just thought that's kind of nonsense. I think putting him in a wheelchair probably would have been, because think about the scenes, guys. Apollo in a wheelchair showing up in Russia, or sorry, Soviet Union, and he didn't know he was going to be there. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that moment? Right? That would be something. That's it. I'm recutting the movie. That's it.
He said he hated that he did that.
Yeah.
Well, it bothered me the way it happened too, because you didn't really have time to grieve. It was like he died, really quick cut to a funeral, and then Stallone struggling with this loss.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't really time to actually like sit and be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
No,
there's no time for that.
Uh,
we have to avenge.
did you-
We're America. We must go to Soviets and beat them.
Elizabeth and Melanie, did you notice the funeral was way different?
Yes.
Ronnie mentioned
It was longer,
I
right?
just don't remember what it was.
First off, Duke, I don't think ever gave a speech at the original funeral. He gave a decent sized speech in this, and then Rocky gave a totally different speach in this. Like, because I remember in the first one he was like, "I just want to say something about Apollo." Like everything was just like very low key, like nothing, not a lot of emotion, just like withdrawn, dead inside. With this one, he actually pulled out a little bit of that sobbing that he did for Mickey. Mm-hmm. And then goes and sees Adrian, and he goes, "This is all my fault." Then she's like, "No, it's not." Like, like at the funeral, like I mean, that's all. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he went for a lot more depth in this. Like, and
that's what he's trying to.
So
do.
yeah, and I can really appreciate that.
And when you were talking about throwing in the towel, because he said he blamed himself because he didn't throw in the towel. But I read something on the internet anyway, and it was like it wouldn't have mattered if he threw in the towel anyway, because earlier when Apollo was getting punched too much, even his guy was trying to pull him off, and he wouldn't get off. Mm-hmm. So even if he threw in the towel anyway, the referee guy is not going to be able to get him off of him anyway. You know what I mean?
He would have punched him enough. Yeah.
He
would have punched him enough. Like, he would have kept going.
I know, but it just seems like that was the plot device. That was the Chekhov's gun of the situation. Like, this whole thing hinges on this towel. You know what I mean? Like, no towel, sorry, got to keep going. So, I mean, I just think I understand where they're going from. I'm not complaining about it. I complain about stuff, but I'm not complaining about it. I just thought, like, come on, like,
for safety matters, you're saying that it doesn't matter if they had a towel because they would have been smart enough to stop the fight anyway, right?
Yeah. Jason.
Okay.
Chris, a part that you used to complain about, they still kept in the film, and that is the flashback sequence to "There's No Easy Way Out." Yes. When he's driving in the car.
Oh yes.
But I think they still changed that a little bit, and they made everything black and white.
Well, that's cool.
Like, so at least that's a little bit more of this is memories. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the other one was, here's what you saw 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, like, you're right. You're right. In case you forgot, there's this. I just, it's so, like I said, the 80s aesthetic is so in your face with the movie, with, Reagan era politics, with Cold War Iron Curtain stuff. And the fact that the movie ends on the original, ends on a free shot, and you have 2 music montages and one of them's just him driving in his car and then remembering. And honestly, if you were that deep in thought, it would have wrapped your car around a tree. But whatever.
Wait.
Yes.
There's 2. There's 3 montages. There's the one in the car. That's right. Then there's 2 exercise ones. Where he's training. Because he's training without Adrian, and he's actually not glum and sad, like he's actually doing his work, because that would be an older movie, like Rocky 3, he'd be like, all depressed. But in this one, like this, he's working really hard, but then he works like, and I gotta say, how funny is the moment, guys, when he decides to run up the mountain, right? So he's running away from the KGB guys or whatever, the people who are his chaperones, and they almost hit him with the car. Yep. Right? Like, they look like they're trying to run him over. And it's like, well, I don't think even the Russian, sports people want you to hit him with the car. Right. But here's the other thing. Another headline could have read, Rocky dies in Russia, falls off the side of a mountain, because he's like, do you see as he's climbing, there's like a thin area. He's like flailing as he's getting to the top before he yells Drago, which is a phenomenal moment. Everybody loves it. He's screaming, that name. But it's like, dude, there's not a lot on the left or the right as you're getting to the top. Yep. I don't know, it's just hysterical.
It's more like Drago. Did I and it's an immense scene. It's so corny though. You have to say. And I'm okay with corny, because it's at that moment he's selling you that I'm gonna run up this mountain, and you're almost waiting, even if before corny 80s movies, he's gonna scream the guy's name at the top, and then he does it, and you're like, that's perfect. You know what I mean? It's the end of Rudy. They're gonna chant Rudy. Doesn't matter. Like, it's coming. Whatever. Doesn't, like, you're waiting for it. Can I before we get, because there's a couple other things, and it's just a story I have to impart. I did meet Dolph Lundgren. I didn't get to say hi, but it was again, he's very successful. He was in Aquaman. He's not a slouch for whatever, obviously, but I was working at Rhode Island Comic-Con. I was the PA announcer for Comic-Con. So I'm in the, if you're unaware of it, so it's a basketball arena and then a convention center. I was in the basketball arena, and that's where all the big celebs were in the basketball arena because they had the most lines. And so I would be in a little curtain on a microphone just saying what was coming up, and then behind me was the bathroom, right? So it was only for staff, right? So not for the general public. So every now and then the guests would go out and they would have their panel discussions. So that year they had Dolph Lundgren and Carl Weathers. And they would also go for photo ops. So you could go and pay $150 to have a one-on-one picture with Dolph Lundgren and be in a closed curtain area with him. So I announced, don't forget, over in Rhode Island, in Narragansett Room, Dolph Lundgren, 1 o'clock, panel discussion, blah, blah, blah. And then I go to the bathroom. And you got to imagine it's the back of a basketball arena. The floor was wet because the urinals had flooded. There was a Zamboni just parked because it's also an ice rink for the Providence Bruins. So there's a Zamboni, like a little Zamboni parked. And here's Dolph Lundgren next to the men's room with the flooded urinal with his manager, like half naked, but about putting on his CCCP boxy shorts and like threading up his gloves. And he's built like a brick shithouse. He's huge and he's jacked. And I'm like, what do I say to the man's half dressed and I just need to go pee? But there he was. And I just walked past him. And again, this is before, I think it was before Aquaman. I'm like, oh man, how the mighty have fallen. This poor bastard's in the middle of Providence next to a flooded urinal putting his clothes on a Zamboni while he's about to go like hear nerdy questions from people like, so what was it like to fight Sylvester Stallone? That's all I could picture, because he's got to deal with these nerds for like, and I say nerds with the utmost respect, these nerds for days about, hey, wasn't it cool when you got punched like that? Were you really on steroids? But it was huge. He was huge, and he was sitting in a puddle of urine, probably.
Oh my God.
It was something. It was really neat. So that was I didn't say hi. What do you say? What do you say to him? You know what I mean? He's trying to get dressed.
I would have been starstruck.
I'm like, well,
yeah.
I was Star Trek when I met Dreyfuss. I didn't know what to say to Richard Dreyfuss because I'm a Jaws fan, so I didn't know. I'm like, boop, 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 autograph, boop, 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 boop. Anyhow, all right, enough of that. Sorry about that. I just had to get my Dolph Lundgren story in. Yes.
So I do have to, for the ending. I don't want to. Anybody can still add stuff, but I just want to say the speech is different. He doesn't say, I like to say hello to my kid. They barely show the kid. And I think a good reason why is because the robot's in the background.
Fucking robot.
Yeah, right.
Stupid robot.
Because I saw the clip of the kid and I was like, aha, that's probably why they didn't show him. It's a lot less, it's toned down when he's like, like everybody can change. Like it's a lot. It's not like everybody can change, and everybody, how everybody goes nuts. But here, Melanie, do you have a trivia on the interpreter?
No.
Okay, I didn't want to steal it.
No.
There's so apparently some guy was translating what the interpreter was saying, and it was stuff like not what exactly what Rocky was saying. So like it was stuff like in here we have like two men killing each other. But I guess that's better than 20 million.
Yeah.
This is better than $20 million.
Are you serious?
Hey, not wrong.
No, it's just like not what he said though. It's just
so
like it was really funny.
No, but I was like at the very end, Chris, there's also something new where he gets not like Rocky, he's like kind of knocked down a little bit and he's talking to himself. And you can't see his lips moving. He's talking to himself in his head, and he was like, "Get back up, let's go." You know what I mean? He's like trying to give himself encouragement.
That's cool. Yeah.
To get back up. And my husband goes, "He probably just edited that in now at 75." You know what I mean? He was probably talking over the tape.
Yeah. Yep. Come on. He did a little cut in.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, it seems as though like I said, you've watched all the Rocky movies. I'm going to bring it back to you, and this is for anybody as well. And obviously, all these movies end with a fight, and I obviously the Creed movies do it too. I haven't seen them. I hear they're good. And I just want to talk for a minute. Isn't it amazing? And again, you've seen these recently. I get your take on it. It's amazing. I've never been in a fight. I don't. I just haven't. I was a goofy kid. I'm a goofy guy. I kind of de-escalate with humor. I don't make a lot of enemies. I feel there's no need to. If I don't like you, I'm just not going to talk to you. If you don't like me, that's fine. Say whatever you want. So I don't really fight people. Sorry. It's very, very, just I don't care. And I'll get the snot kicked out of me. But besides that, have you noticed, and again, since you've watched these movies, the hero gets beat and then beat and then beat, and they're losing energy and energy and energy. And then right at the end of the fight is when everybody suddenly starts to surge. Do you find that hard to believe? I do. I've never been beaten up, but it seems like if I kept getting hit over and over, I wouldn't suddenly surge at the end. And it seems like that's what happens in Rocky 4. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I have a really kind of corny response to that. So I CrossFit.
Okay.
I've been doing it for years. And there's something to be said about that last minute of a workout where you're just pushing yourself to the point of maybe throwing up, where it's throughout the whole workout, you've just been pacing yourself. And then at the end, you just give it your all because it's only a minute. It's only 30 seconds. So I feel like that could translate over into boxing where it's oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Okay, but I can give my all for 30 seconds and then it happens to be the 30 seconds that you win. That's just a theory.
Fine. It just seems to be, I'm not going to disagree with that as I don't CrossFit. I think Shaun T was the master of, we're going to do a lot of high intense stuff and get a break for 10 seconds and then, work out till your thighs explode. I only did the first month of Shaun T and that was it. But the bottom line, I guess that's true. Again, I don't do that. I think it would be different if you're getting punched in the kidneys over and over and over again. And it seems like, again, I'm not a boxer. I don't know. And this is the round table. It seems to me the most realistic fight in movie history is the one in They Live between Roddy Piper and the other guy where they just beat themselves in an alley for 8 minutes. And at the end, they literally can't lift their fists because they've been beating on each other for in camera for 8 minutes solid. I don't know how well you are versed with They Live, but if you haven't, you should see it. John Carpenter movie, dystopian future. But that's more realistic because they're literally and they're just drooling and stuff. It seems to me that would be more. But again, I don't know. I just find it humorous when you have Ivan Drago who can punch with what, a ton of force?
It goes over 2,000.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that would shatter a human being. You're just okay,
and over and over and over again. But suddenly, because I'm thinking, because I whispered to myself in voiceover, "Get up." I should get up and be much stronger now. Again, it's a movie. That's not the point. The point is everybody wants to have that inner spark. They think they have to get over and above. Because look, he's not an underdog anymore. He's the champ. So it's hard you have to sell that he's an underdog. And he is, even though he's the champion. So you've got to give him that moment to pull back for that champion aesthetic. Which, if you don't do that, then you lose. Which we don't want to see Rocky lose. But I don't know. Just a thought.
I have one. Every single time that I watch anything with boxing or ultimate fighting or anything, I'm thinking, and you can see when they were showing Dolph and Rocky and they had these cuts right here under their eyes and there's just blood gushing down and everything. I'm like, can you imagine being I want to do this for a living?
Yeah.
I just want to go into this ring and get the snot beat out of me the whole time and have somebody just punching me as hard as they could in my face and in my bones and in my eyes. Yeah. I remember they even showed a flashback of Rocky. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was it might have been when Mickey died or something because he was leaning over him and all of his eyes were swollen. They almost looked like they were sewn shut because they were so swollen. And just getting, hit over and over in the chest and in the ribs and in the organs. You're thinking, this is what I want to do for a living.
Yeah.
Just getting punched in the head. Mike Tyson's not right anymore.
Nope.
Do you know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah. Usually, from what, they say a lot of boxers are people who have grown up with harder times.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're trying
I'm sure they're thinking easy money or something, right?
No, well, I'm saying it's one way to try to get out. You don't see any other opportunity or whatever. You haven't been given one, maybe. That type of thing. So because it's either, I think it's the first one. He goes, "You gotta be a moron to get in the ring and go get punched for like an hour.
Yeah,
so it was. I mean, he's saying that right at the gate, right at the beginning of the when he's walking with Adrian because she was asking about it, So
obviously, good money. I mean, in Paulo's house and what Rocky had before Paulie lost all of it. Like, I mean, it's obviously really good money. I mean, look at Mike Tyson, or just for an instance, but they're obviously making good money. But my God, what?
Yeah.
And I guess if you're just, you're in physical shape and part of your job is to get in amazing shape, but I can't imagine being in there for a minute, not less all the time that they're in there.
Elizabeth,
Right.
You made a great point on one of your episodes for the Rocky. I think it was like Rocky 4 or 5. You're like, wasn't there a thing about him possibly losing his eyesight? Did that not play into because I was in part 2, right?
Right.
and they sort of just glossed over it. Like,
don't worry about it.
It's like Rocky 4, and he's like going after nobody's talking about his eyesight. I was like, I was laughing. It was great.
That's always in the back of my mind.
I totally forgot about that.
Did that part heal? I don't know.
Right. Well, I don't. And even if it healed, they're gonna go knock it again. So you got lucky enough for it to heal, and you're gonna go take the chance again. Like this time now, you're gonna be blind as a bat. I don't know.
My retinas have reattached.
No, I think it's a matter. My personal thought on that. It's probably like Sylvester going, I think people will forgive me. I think they're just going to love this next movie a lot and totally forget about it's let's forget that Michael Myers just got shot 6 times and got up off the balcony after falling off the balcony.
Sure.
They want to see a sequel. So
do you have any trivia on the boxing gloves?
No.
Okay. I looked up a clip with Dolph Lundgren and Sylvester Stallone. It must have been somewhat recent. Uh-huh. And they were talking about the fight scene at the very end and the shots where they're actually punching each other.
I have about that. Yeah.
And they were saying that the gloves are illegal now.
Really?
They were 8-ounce gloves and they aren't allowed anymore because they have they could really just injure somebody severely.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So, yeah.
I wonder what they stuff them with. What are they stuffed with?
Baby skin and kitty cat fur and lobster. Did you just say
no, she said rocks.
I said
rocks.
rocks.
I was gonna say
no.
Lobster would be funny.
No, it's just
it smells like hell.
No, they had to make them thicker. They had to make them thicker and less rounds. A guy died in the ring in the 15th round, or after he got knocked out. In the 15th round or whatever, and they he died an hour later or something, and they
whoa.
Oh my God. So what do they have to do to them? They had to make them a different shape too?
No, I just think they made them thicker.
Yep.
No.
So it would be 10-ounce gloves,
but
so there's a lot more padding.
Oh.
Snowflakes.
Okay, so they made
It's
them
not
actually heavier. Okay.
Yeah, but
They made
it's
them
also
heavier
not
now.
but it's not you're not feeling a fist as much.
Okay.
As much. Let's emphasize
if you're
much.
if you're still getting cut, that then you're feeling something.
Hey, look, if you
I
want,
do have something about the punching stuff. I can save it for trivia, but I can say it now.
well, hold on. Why don't we? You want to
right,
get to trivia?
go
Let's do trivia.
Yeah, well,
No.
yeah, whatever you
Let's
want.
do the theme.
TMI.
Okay.
I think we kind of covered a lot.
Yeah.
It's time for TMI with Melanie.
Listen to this. I am in the bathroom right before the movie starts. And I'm in the stall, and there's no toilet paper.
Mine are at home in a display case above my bed.
TMI, my friends.
TMI?
Too much information.
Say don't go there, but that's lame.
Now, here's Melanie with your timeless movie info.
All right, Melanie, hit us with it.
Okay.
With the 10-ounce
The
gloves.
budget-
Yes.
I see with the 10-ounce gloves.
Well, no, okay. The budget was $28 million. It grossed $300 million. It was the highest grossing film in the Rocky series to date. And then you doesn't really have about the ounces of the gloves, but it says that both Sylvester and Dolph confirmed that most of the hits in the film were actually real, although slowed down or restrained enough to try to prevent injury. However, one day after doing 3 takes, Rocky was taking so many shots to the ribs, he said Stallone felt a burning in his chest but ignored it. Later that night, he had difficulty breathing and was taken to a nearby emergency room. and discovered that his blood pressure was over 200, and he had to be flown on a low-altitude flight to another hospital where he remained in intensive care for 4 days. It said what happened was that Dolph had punched him so hard in the chest that Stallone's heart had slammed up against the breastbone and began to swell, cutting off the blood supply and restricting the oxygen flow to his body. Dolph said that, he said, we shot like 15 rounds over 2 or 3 weeks, 8 or 12 hours a day. He goes, so you're throwing thousands of punches. If you do not connect, it looks fake, but I don't know whether it was my punches or the fact that he was so overworked as a director, actor, and writer. So he's like, I don't know if I did it.
But to add to that moment,
Yeah.
they said had he not gone to the hospital, the swelling in the heart would have just kept growing until it stopped, and he would have been dead.
Oh my God. Can you imagine losing him from that? It's going to be, I was talking to my husband last night. It's going to be horrible. Because like I said, we watched his new series too. Like, I don't even want to think about one day when he's not around anymore. Because it's just, I think that's going to be a huge toll. We lose so many great celebrities, but he's just, I don't know. He's been around since all of our childhoods, and he's done so much. I think it's going to be so tragic. Hopefully he lives forever. Okay. This was the last film that Sylvester Stallone directed until Rocky
He's a vampire.
Balboa in 2006.
He's a vampire, yeah. Zombie Sly.
Yeah.
Hey, brains. All right, go ahead.
I need them. Okay, so Sylvester Stallone directed, this was the last film that he directed until Rocky 2006. Dolph and Carl Weathers really did not get along in the beginning. They got into an altercation on the set. James Brown is shown performing the song Living in America. The song was released as a single from the movie's soundtrack and became Brown's first top 40 single in 11 years, and it was the last of his career. Over
It was written by Dan Hartman.
Huh?
You know, I'm sorry to interrupt. That song, "I Can Dream About You."
Oh, yeah.
Yes. He wrote that guy wrote that.
Oh boy!
Oh,
so it was written by Dan Hartman. I thought it was kind of an interesting fact. I was like, damn.
All
you know,
right.
like
Funny. It said over 8,000 people auditioned for the part of Drago. Dolph was first turned down by the casting directors for being too tall. But later on, he got he's 6'5". But you know what? I looked it up, and Apollo was 6'2". But then you add the little spikes of his hair, and so he's like at least 5 inches taller than him. So yeah, and then Sylvester, I think, was only 5'10". But anyway, over 8,000 people auditioned. He was turned down for being too tall. But then he got a chance to meet Stallone, and he told him that he had a good chance to get the part, but advised him to gain 20 pounds of muscle. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger actually helped him to get in shape for the film. And it took him months to get this part, to get in shape for the part. The lines, I see 3 of him out there, and how they said just hit the one in the middle, actually did happen during the Max Baer versus Max Schmeling heavyweight fight in June 1933. So those are came from real people.
Yep.
All right. None of the actors who played Russian characters were actually Russian. Dolph is Swedish, Bridget Nielsen is Danish, and the others are all American. The training scenes set in Russia were actually filmed in Wyoming, and the fight itself was filmed in Vancouver, British Columbia. The scene of Rocky deadlifting the wooden cart with Polly and Adrian and Tony sitting in it was a tribute to the film Hercules, 1958, which actually inspired Stallone to want to become an actor and pursue a career in weight training. In order to sell Drago's, we talked about this a little bit. In order to sell Drago's killing blow to Apollo, Carl Weathers made it a point to land face first, and he did that twitching motion after hitting the ground. He was so convincing that a physician on the set figured that he'd actually been injured. That's it.
Selling it.
Wow.
Carl Weathers selling it. All right.
It looks real.
And so also Drago. I mean, Dolph Lundgren threw Carl Weathers 3 feet into the corner, like too much, and he got so pissed that he left the set, and it took 4 days to get him back.
Yeah.
I think that's nuts.
Oh my gosh.
And they get along just fine now. And I think Dolph had said, I never did that. He said something like, yeah, we were, we get along just fine. I don't think he remembers that. He does remember him leaving, but I don't think he remembers why or something he said like that.
All right, let's hit final judgment.
It's time now for Final Judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the Final Judgment.
All right, it's time for Final Judgment, the moment where we talk about no more opinion, but fact. No, we can throw in as much opinion as we want. There's no final judgment here. Come on. It's all about how we feel, whether this movie holds up today or not. Let's go with Chris.
Sure.
The one who didn't participate in class.
I did. I just watched the wrong one. I'm stupid. What do you want? Look, either way. Here's what I'll say about this movie, and I gave it some thought. It's an obviously 80s movies for the theme. It's a political theme. You can't really transpose it to anything political these days because it's about Iron Curtain politics. It's about Reagan era politics, good or bad, whatever. It's about those things, right? I think it holds up. It holds up as a underdog movie. I think it holds up as a nod to 80s history. You know what I mean? About international relationship and how we viewed them. I mean, look, the Soviets were basically could have been for sixth grade me. The Soviet Union was another planet. Literally, like the people that came from there were alien beings because they weren't Americans, because that's what was broadcast to me every day by everybody around me. Like the commies are coming to get us, so on and so forth. I remember when this movie came out in sixth grade, we actually had kids from the high school. Actually, I don't know how, went on a trip to Moscow, and they visited my elementary school and talked about it. And my feeling, I remember distinctly, is like, it's like they went to Mars. Like, how did you come back alive? They did. You mean that you didn't go and they didn't torture you? Like, and this is all very ignorant, but again, I'm sixth grade me being fed what I've been fed about the Soviet Union, right? That they're, it's any moment nukes are going to fly in the air. So to me, that is a perfect window of that. And it's a perfect window of 80s patriotism. And I agree with this version of 80s patriotism as a historical artifact more than I can agree with the original Top Gun as a patriotic historical artifact. I think Top Gun is a bunch of nonsense and is just fluffy and just flying. And this movie actually nails that a little bit better. And so for that reason, I would say, usually I say things don't hold up if it's so 80s, like Lost Boys didn't hold up, because it's just so drippingly 80s it makes you want to kind of barf. But this is more of a historical artifact of 80s culture. And so for that reason, I would say it holds up and you should watch it just to see what it was like back in 86 with other nations. There you go. And I'll go to Melanie.
Okay, I'm going to say it holds up. I just think because, I mean, God, they're still making movies that are, from spinoff of this. And it doesn't, I mean, it I don't know. It just, when you're watching it, you still get excited,
Sure.
when you're watching it.
Yep.
And you still get uplifted from the movie. And I think anybody would feel that way. I think it's amazing. My kids haven't seen any of the Rockies yet. I keep wanting to get them to watch it, but I just don't see how they wouldn't. It kind of pulls you in when you're watching it. You just get so involved in it. And it just makes you just, root for him. And I don't know, it's got that good feeling to it. So I think anybody would like watching it. I think as far as 80s movies or any movies that we kind of go through over the years, the enemy always ends up being somebody that America has a problem with at the time, you know what I mean? So, and I think that's always going to continue to happen. I remember being a kid watching the Rockies, especially, this one, especially, obviously, because it had the two Russians in there, Bridget and then Drago. And I always thought that Russians look like that. They must be like this tall, muscular people with blonde hair and blue eyes. Yep. And so whenever I would see anybody on TV and they looked like muscular, tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, I'm like, they must be Russian. And I was just thinking, wow, imagine how amazing all these people are and what they all look like. Because both of them kind of look like that. And it's just funny because they're not even Russian. But I don't know. I definitely think it holds up. It's a great movie. And I like the director's cut, but I don't know, I kind of missed some parts that was in the other one as I was, remembering things as I was watching it. I missed some of the stuff that was in the first one.
Well, at least before we go to Elizabeth, I want to say that at least that the other one is not being phased out by Sylvester Stallone. Like he's not like getting rid of the other ones like George Lucas did. George Lucas got rid of a lot of the original like ones that you know, a lot of people get miserable about.
Yeah.
You know, like they're like, I still have it on video cassette, and I'm gonna like, you know, wear it out. Like I feel bad, but it's too bad.
I still think I might like it a little bit better though, because I feel like it's not as cheesy.
Which one? This one? Or
yeah, this one.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's 80s cheesy. But... It's cheesy.
No, we're talking about the newer.
Sorry. All right, apologies.
Yeah, man.
Sorry,
you're not in the club.
I suck.
All right, let's go to Elizabeth.
I think it holds up. I can't attest. I mean, I wasn't born yet, so even though I'm aware from my education of, you know, the turmoil with Russia, I didn't experience it, and so really all that I know is through film.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great film. It's not one of my favorites of the Rockies, but I still think it's great.
Oh, on the spot.
So I think this is kind of controversial.
I know.
I really liked Rocky
Sure.
5.
I liked it too. I did too.
I really did.
You said at the end, and I know it wasn't a judgment thing, but my jaw hit the floor because I was like, "Wow! Normally people don't say that."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I know. I've heard.
I did too.
A lot of people don't like the 5th.
Yeah.
I think
don't
it's
know
my
why.
guess. Here's my guess: is that he didn't enter a ring. And it was more about him trying to train Tommy Gunn and you know, that type of thing. So like that could be it. Like he never entered. There was no boxing match. There was a street fight.
At the end, really. It wasn't.
No,
it
but
was
there was
a street fight.
Yeah.
So like that. Like
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that people could have, you know, like thought that like, you know, it just wasn't what they were hoping for because that they've gotten what they've gotten for 4 prior to that.
Yeah.
And by the way, rest in peace. I felt so bad that his actual son, who was in part 5, died in real life, and it's like that's got to be like gut wrenching to watch. Like you know, how do you watch that as a father? Like watch that. How can you watch that movie ever again? I don't know. But
what happened again? I know he died, but do you remember what happened?
I'd be honest with you, I forget. But so I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like. I was elaborating on why people thought number 5 was. So go ahead, you continue. Sorry.
I don't remember what I was
saying.
saying.
We had asked me why part 5 was your favorite.
I liked the kind of like the family aspect. You know, it was interesting to me to watch the struggling father-son relationship play out, especially when, you know, was it Robert, his son, was witnessing his dad treating this other guy like a son, you know, and so it was just a really interesting conflict to witness. And then the street fight at the end was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That movie makes you mad because of that, because he's giving all his time and attention to this other kid training him, and then he literally goes and backstab him. I mean, he was such a jerk. I mean, it makes you so mad when you're watching it.
I think the point was the guy who was that manager that was the shit stirrer in the movie that like lured Tommy away from Rocky was like a Don King character. So the type that would like, you know, like sell like, you know, someone's soul just to make $1. Like, you know, so it was like a matter of, that's why he was wheeling and dealing, like everything was over the top. Like, so he would do anything, and then he promised Tommy the world. So, so yeah, no, I think first off, I want to say about this version again, I thought it was really, really cool. I liked it a lot. Can I say I like it better? I don't know. I just like it for like it's almost like, you know, you could say 1A and 1B. I mean, you could really you can like them both. And it was, I highly recommend if you're a fan of the series, check it out because, like I said, some of those shots are so clean and clear. Like, it's like they really took their time. Like, this movie was not, like, how many special editions have you seen in life? And it's literally like 5 extra seconds added to something that you've already seen.
Sure.
Woven into the movie, and now the movie, instead of the movie being 90 minutes, it's 95. And it's like, but like, you know what I mean? Just basically the same film with like, you know, an extra like, yeah, man, that's really crazy. Like, you know, like something stupid that wasn't necessary, but hey, it's special. No, this was actually like, I'm kind of changing it here. You know, I mean, like different angles, different stories. You know, there's a moment where like they're after Adrian's lecturing Apollo, they get up and walk out of the room and then go to the kitchen and start talking a little longer. I'm like, whoa, look at this. Like, this is so different. Yeah. So, yeah, the movie holds up because people love to feel that, like, you know, the comeback type of thing. And yes, Rocky was still the champion, but his friend just got murdered in the ring. Like, and a guy that he struggled to fight like 15 rounds with, right? Yeah. Apollo. Yep. So if you can barely beat Apollo, and Apollo got killed within a round and a half, yeah, it seems like like it's like a crazy uphill battle that you're not going to be able to go. And by the way, some nods to actors. Duke, it's Tony Burton, I think. Duke is so great in these movies. I really, really think like people sort of forget about him because other people are so over the top. The speech in Rocky Balboa that he does is so outstanding, and that's part 6. And it's like basically, to beat this guy, you need speed. You don't have it. Yeah. like, because he's 60 something years old. He goes, and you got the arthritis and the calcium deposits on your joints. The hard running is out. Right. He's like listing all the things that's wrong with him. And then he goes, so we're going to focus on good old fashioned blunt force trauma. Like talking about like all the exercises. And he goes, it's so great. So like I highly recommend that.
I've checked out 5 and 6.
I got to watch that. Yeah, I got to watch that.
So, yeah. And Michael Pataki, the guy who played, you had said everybody else was American. How convincing was he as a Russian? Mm-hmm. He was the manager of Drago.
Oh yeah, I know. You just thought they all were.
Everything he hits, he destroys. Like, I mean, he really believed he was Russian. So outstanding. Right. Still to this day, I think anybody, even if they don't fully get the whole politic aspect, it's still an underdog comeback story.
Sure.
And,
and better than Top Gun. So
yeah.
Easily.
Definitely. So we got that going for us.
Long shot.
Which is nice. Oh, that's great. So, well, I'm glad we were able to do this. And I want to say thank you to Elizabeth for joining us once again. If you want to remind everybody about your channel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm over at Movies with Mom, where I react to movies that I haven't seen and TV as well.
Oh, I love that TV
That's awesome.
too. I know you did movies, but I didn't use the TV.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to watch The Last of Us.
Oh. Okay, I need to watch that.
Which I heard is great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you have about a year and a half, watch Lost.
I've seen Lost, so it wouldn't be a...
Have you seen Monk?
Yeah.
Monk?
No.
That's one of my favorite
Psych
TV
as
shows
well.
ever. Psych is cute.
Psych is funny. Monk is also good.
Monk is amazing. Tony Shalhoub is so funny in it.
Yep.
They're actually coming out with a brand new movie.
Cool.
It's you got to have a lot of time to watch it, but I'm telling you, it just gets better and better with every episode. You've got to watch it. It's
I agree.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I like watching TV shows after they're done airing so that I don't have to wait.
Yeah, it's all done airing. It's all on Prime.
Yep.
And they're coming out with a movie after all these years that it's been off.
Cool.
So.
Well, we'd like to thank Steve Lavoie for our vocal imaging and Draco and the Malfoys for our theme music. And please help us grow by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified when we release a new episode. And, well, my name is Jay Fortier, and on the behalf of Chris Martineau and Melanie Howerton, I'd like to thank you again for joining us here on the Film Crickets. Until next time, movies may not age like fine wine, but we drink it anyway. Bye.
Crickets, chirping about movies.